It was a bright sunny day on the island of Sodor. Sir Topham Hatt's engines loved this time of year. There were lots of passengers and goods to be transported place to place. Every engine was working happily, except Diesel himself. Diesel was in a bad mood again. When he arrived, Edward and Mavis were resting at the sheds. "Good morning, Diesel," Edward called politely. Diesel grunted in response. "Is everything all right, Diesel?" Mavis asked. "What do you think?" growled Diesel. Edward and Mavis were taken aback. "Nobody ever appreciates my work on this railway, not even Sir Topham Hatt himself. I work just about as hard as any steam engine or diesel on these lines. I mean, what is it that people don't like from me?" Mavis and Edward thought for a moment. Then Edward smirked. "Maybe if you stop being so devious," he said, "maybe they'll like you even more. And maybe you would have more friends," added Mavis. Diesel scoffed. "I have plenty of friends, and they don't call me devious Diesel for nothing." And he chortled away. Edward and Mavis just grinned at each other. But later that day, Diesel was sent to work in the yards. "Another waste of my talents," he muttered. But when Diesel arrived at the shunting yards, he was surprised to find Mavis, Salty, and Dennis already there. Before Diesel could ask what's going on, the yard manager walked up. "I'm glad all four of you came," he announced. "Mavis, I know you work at the quarry occasionally. Salty, you love the docks. And Dennis, you love being, Dennis. But the yards are in a total mess. It needs a lot of tidying up around here. I need all four of you to work together to get this job done on time. Whoever can shunt the most trucks before the night will get a new record." Diesel was surprised. No diesel on Sodor has ever set a record. Dennis was very worried. Salty reassured him. Never fear, me lad," he said. "I'll make sure those trucks give you no harm at all." Dennis felt reassured. Soon work began like never before. Mavis knew all about freight cars, and so she was able to keep the troublesome trucks in line. Dennis, meanwhile, was struggling. Luckily, good old Salty was there to give a hand. Diesel, on the other hand, was being careless. He biffed and bashed the trucks one by one. "Slow down and take care," cried the yardmaster. But Diesel was having so much fun, he didn't listen. All he could think about was setting a record for the first time. Later, as Diesel was being refueled, he heard Gordon. He was coming in fast. "Keep going, Gordon," shouted his driver. "We mustn't be late if we want to set that record." And he was off in a flash. Seeing and hearing this, Diesel became even more determined. As soon as he was done refueling, he went back to work. Be careful, Diesel, Mavis shouted, but Diesel couldn't help himself. Must be fast, he grunted. Then the troublesome truck sniggered. It's fast he wants, they whispered. Then let's give it to him. Then they began to pull Diesel forwards. Faster he wants, faster he wants. The faster we shall give it to him. Diesel was surprised. Stop! Stop! He shouted. But he couldn't stop. He realized his driver had jumped clear. The trucks pulled him right towards an old siding. Diesel shut his eyes. When the dust cleared, Diesel was in a terrible situation. He felt embarrassed. The others came to see what the mess was. Even Dennis was worried. Soon Thomas had brought the breakdown train to help clear away the mess. The trucks were taken away. Diesel was hoisted back onto the rails. Thomas couldn't help but give a cheeky smile. Can Diesel go through one day without making a mess in the yards for a change? Diesel said nothing. I warned you to be careful, said Mavis. And you never even listened anyways. Why? Because I was determined. To do what? Asked Thomas. To set a record so I could finally be special like you really useful steam engines are. James is special because of his red paint. Gordon's special for that express record. And Thomas, you're special for helping me out. What am I? And he slunk sadly back to work. Thomas, Salty, and Mavis were surprised. Throughout the night, Diesel did his work without fuss. He didn't say a word to anyone, but worked as hard as he could. He shunted the truck so carefully that they gave him no trouble at all. But he still felt very ashamed. When he got to the sheds, it was very quiet. Diesel felt alone. But all of a sudden, Mavis, Salty, Thomas, and Toby puffed alongside. And one by one, they tooted their whistles and rang their bells. And Mavis and Salty honked their horns loudly. Diesel was very surprised. Congratulations, Diesel, they all shouted. Then the yard manager walked up. Well done, Diesel, he boomed. Your work in the yard has been good. Speaking of that, you are the first engine, or should I say diesel, to shunt these cars in one single day. No other engine around here has been able to do such a thing that fast. Diesel was very surprised. So we wanted to congratulate you, said Thomas. We couldn't leave you so upset after that accident. You should be happy, shipmate, cried Salty. You are an excellent shunter, said Mavis. You may be devious to us, said Toby, but you are a hard worker. And a really useful shunter, added Thomas. Diesel was so happy he didn't know what to say, so he honked his as loudly as he could. Well, he really is full of surprises.